There's 4 doctors you must have a healthy relationship with, or you will never have those dragons in balance, and you will not create your dreams efficiently and effectively. And that is Dr. Happiness, Dr. Diet, Dr. Quiet, and Dr. Movement. The chief physician is Dr. Happiness because Dr. Happiness is responsible for deciding what it is that you can do each day to create happiness in your own life, instead of waiting for some pill to make you happy or somebody else to make you happy. Because this is why Osho said the beauty of love is that it never works. And what he meant by that is as long as you expect someone else to love you and make you feel loved, you will be in a codependent relationship, and eventually the ego will reject your lover because it knows that it's losing itself in the relationship. It's not becoming whole in the relationship.
Wow.
Okay? So the beauty of love is that it never works unless you are making love for yourself and giving it because you have it instead of being needy all the time. So Dr. Happiness's job is to identify what is truly happy making for me, which goes right to that one love. What do I do for a living? What I think I have to do or what I love to do? Well, research shows that 70 to 75% of the world population says they hate their job. Well, that's one of the reasons we have such a massively successful business adventure called the medical system, because people have to drug and medicate themselves for not listening to their soul. And it leads to pain. The pain teacher will show up to put a North Star on your compass. Start here. Pay attention to what's causing you to be sick. Dr. Happiness is also the chief physician because Dr. Happiness has to establish core values for what is the amount of movement that I need and the type of movement that I need to keep myself at least at baseline health so I can deal with the field of gravity and the responsibility of an animal physical body. Then, what is the type of exercise I need to specifically have the conditioning I need to live my dream? You see, because if you come to me as a client or a patient and you say, Paul, all I want to do is play with my grandkids, that's my only goal, then what I have to do with the science of movement is very different than if you say, Paul, I not only want to play with my grandkids, but I want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in 10 months. Okay, so first we got to accomplish the grandkids because that means baseline health. Then we got to get ready to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, which is going to take a staged, scientifically designed exercise program, which I can do. So you see, we have to get very clear on what our values on movement are, because our first objective is to have baseline health, or we're always putting, as I say to my students, you'll be buying a new Porsche for an orthopedic surgeon, but you will not get to choose the color. Okay. Then we have to have core values around diet and hydration. What's the quality of food we're going to eat, knowing that you are what you eat, period. You are what you eat. You turn over every single cell in your body every year, and you're making it out of what you eat. You eat garbage, you become garbage. It's as simple as that. Then we have to say, what is our values around listening to our body instead of reading diet books and getting caught in isms? Any ism is a belief system, and as soon as you enter a belief system, you stop asking questions because the belief system is always closed. So I've rehabilitated many people from diet isms that listen to the idea more than they listen to their body, and those two dragons start making a lot of noise. Many people have sat in my office and spent an hour or more telling me how fantastic their diet philosophy was, and then I had to remind them, you're here because you've got cancer and you're sick. So why are you paying me a large sum of money if you're telling me the truth right now? What you're doing is reciting a belief system, and it's not congruent with the reality that you've brought into my office as your body. So we need to upgrade your belief system to something that's more open and have a relationship with your body and love it and listen to it, because your soul is talking to you through the keyboard called your body. That's where you're making music or noise. It's up to you. Then we have to have values around rest. When am I going to go to bed at night? And
Dr. Quiet.
Dr. Quiet, thank you. When am I going to go to bed at night? And then there's a science to that. It's called nature. You go against nature, you get in trouble. You get dragon problems. Dragons are nature. You have to say, how much time off do I need from work a year, vacation time, so I can, get out of the world of having to also always be outcome oriented, because outcome oriented burns people out. You get control fatigue and you burn out. how much time do I need to spend in introspection and in relationship, in quiet with myself to have a legitimate, loving relationship with me and get to know thyself, to know me, to be in touch with my feelings, my desires, my dreams, and even my fantasies, because that's an aspect of our creativity. What do I need to really love, care for, respect, and embrace myself? And that could be meditation, it could be Tai Chi, it can be art, it can be time to play your favorite instrument. Each of us has to figure that out, and we all have different needs. If you look at the tree of contemplative practices, there's like 100 different roads in, right? So what we have is we have a chief physician named Dr. Happiness who has to say, what is my dream goal or objective at this time in my life as a big picture? And what is my specific dream goal or objective, which could be my professional dream goal or objective, my athletic dream goal or objective, my spiritual dream goal or objective, my parenting dream goal or objective. So underneath the overarching umbrella of my life, we can have specific dreams, goals, or objectives, but those core values ultimately determine whether or not you have the life force energy and the vitality to carry out any of those dream goals or objectives effectively. And if your dream goal or objective doesn't stretch you, it's not a good one. You know, it's like staying in third grade for 5 years. It's like, okay, yeah, it's easy, but you haven't learned anything. And, you know, that'll put you into a soul crisis, just that alone. So ultimately, what I showed my students is that when you look at all this data you've just gathered, you have first identify what they love to do. Then you look at where they're out of balance with regard to nutrition, hydration, sleep, breathing, thinking, and movement. And you orient your therapeutic protocol to identifying which aspect of those 6 foundation principles is leading to the stress that's causing the imbalance between feminine and masculine, yin and yang, anabolic and catabolic. Then you have to identify what their core values are and where they're out of balance with their understanding of those core values, because a lot of people have food values and exercise, but they're completely out of touch with the basic principles of what we call reality. So it's our job as a therapist to say, well, you know, good, but we got to fine tune that a little bit and teach them so that their core values are actually worth living and they're congruent with reality. And so your 3 choices, then once you know what your dream is, you know where you're out of balance, then you have those 3 choices in response to how you manage Dr. Happiness, Dr. Diet, Dr. Movement, and Dr. Quiet. And so what you find is that no matter what's wrong with somebody, you have to say, well, your first dream, if you're sick, is just to be healthy. So that's the prerequisite to being a great musician or being a great painter or being a great athlete. Or
all other dreams go out the window unless that dream is fulfilled.
You have to be there, right? The more unhealthy you are, the less of you shows up, right? Which creates a lot of problem in relationships. For example, if I'm in this relationship with you like we are right now, and I'm 10% not here because I'm fantasizing about food or having sex or whatever, most people think, well, that creates a 10% deficit in the relationship. But in actuality, there's 10% of me not here, and there's 10% that you can't access, which means there's a 20% deficit in the relationship. Now, I drove 3.5 hours to get here to be with you today. So I'll ask you a question. If my wife plugs in an address that's 20% wrong, will I ever get home tonight? It's only 120 miles to my house, but 20% wrong means I'll end up in Mexico or in the Pacific Ocean or in, Nevada or something, right? So when you look at how important communication is in our life and how important it is to be present in relationships, the more of you that's out of balance with those 4 doctors, the more of you is trapped in some kind of either unconscious withhold, some kind of unconscious habit pattern, or you're distracted by something. So you actually can't be present with yourself and you can't be present in your relationship. So what you see is those dragons just multiply their problems until you kind of burn your dragons out. And what do we call that? First, it starts up as fatigue, then it becomes anxiety, then it becomes depression, and it ends in suicide. That's the scenario. You see it, I've watched it a billion times in my career.